Now, mid-August may ordinarily be the quietest time of the year for political news, the time of year we traditionally are treated to stories of condemned alpacas, fantasy-imminent national governments, or even CCTV footage of a woman putting a cat in the bin. Remember that one? Well, this year the traditional silly season seems rather less silly. We're thundering through August in the midst of a global energy price shock, an inflation crisis unknown to this generation of political leaders, a grain shortage, extreme heat warnings, the rise of radical Islam in Afghanistan and the West, rivers drying up abroad and water shortages here at home, a new global health emergency declared by the WHO, war in Europe, unprecedented indebtedness, the highest tax burden in 70 years, and to top it all, the collapse of our government and the campaign to install a new one. In short, it's not a particularly quiet summer. And it's in this context that we've finally heard from the Labour Party. Labour is today announcing their plan to tackle energy costs, a freeze on that mischievous energy price cap. Yes, it sounds potentially logical, and more than a little tautological. Freezing a cap. Isn't the cap supposed to cap the price in the first place? Well, synonyms aside, the reason the cap keeps rising is because the UK government cannot control the global price of energy. There's more demand for energy than supply of it, which is why, and those of you who are well versed in economics will know this, energy is increasing in price. As the Institute of Fiscal Studies said this morning, quote, "Suppose every government in the world tried to freeze the price of energy. In the end, it would be self-defeating, as the reason for energy prices going up is that demand is moving up more quickly than supply." But that aside, in the short term, is a freeze the sort of policy that could be workable or desirable? Well, Labour say this would cost £30 billion every 6 months. For context, furlough cost £23 billion every 6 months, £7 billion less. Yes, if you thought furlough was cripplingly expensive, you ain't seen nothing yet. Why is it so much more expensive than the massive furlough scheme, though? Well, frankly, furlough was targeted. It went to those who may have lost their jobs. This energy policy from the Labour Party, however, is not targeted. So by definition, half of the tens of billions pounds it costs would go to households of above average incomes. And I suppose this is where we need to ask ourselves, is that what the state should be doing? Should the state be subsidising everyone or just those most in need? I sense this will become a significant political dividing line in the months to come. It might take bravery to say that people on average incomes could get by with no handouts, but it might be what's needed to save this country from the further problems of debt and stagnation down the line. The question that must be asked is, should the state be providing the same level of support to those of us who might have to, for example, forego a holiday to pay for bills this year, compared to those who are literally choosing between heating and eating? Should the state pick up the bill for those who could get by in the same way it no doubt will for those who genuinely could not?